Hey everyone, thank you guys all so much for joining us today. My name is Stephen Gould, the founder and chief innovation officer over here at Travel Advisor Resource Center. And today we have Ashley Gibbs with Hilton All Inclusive on with us. Ashley, if you want to pass it over and do an introduction.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Steven. I appreciate it. So I am Ashley Gibbs. I'm on the all-inclusive team over here at Hilton Worldwide Sales. So, my sole focus over the last 4 years is trying to help get the word out and help us get a successful collection of all-inclusives launched over here at Hilton. And I think we've been successful in really getting that out there, but obviously we're a better partner than working with you, Steven, and TARC and all the resources and everything. You got a great advisor community out there, and there's never a lack of an appetite, right, for I think the knowledge and everything like that. So I just want to make sure that we're taking full advantage, and I'm excited to have the conversation with you about it today.
Absolutely. And I know you're part of our TARC Expo, and I know there's been a lot of kind of buzz going around the all-inclusive markets and everything. And so we appreciate you guys kind of jumping on here and informing people of what's going on with you guys. I know there's been a lot of changes in the all-inclusive market in the last 5 years, especially.
Sure.
So definitely excited to hear what you guys have to say.
All right, excellent. Well, let's touch on that first, Steve, because I mean, I think, from a conversational standpoint, I know I was surprised because we've been talking for the last few years about, acquisitions and mergers and sales and things like that. So, in addressing what I wanted to talk about today, I will start as I share some slides at the beginning, and then we'll go over some of our agent resources and everything in more detail so you guys can kind of see a test drive of that. It's really familiarizing yourself with what our all-inclusive collection is, like which resorts are part of the Hilton All-Inclusive Collection. We are not affiliated with Playa Hotels and Resorts. That we don't have any other brands in there. It's just Hilton and our brand. So I think when I sometimes have lost sight of the fact that there's still some folks out there in the industry that probably need to hear that as well. So I'm going to try to dial that back in a little bit. And I think that, as I start to share some things here, we'll get into it. But
Yeah, I'm glad you kind of talk about that too, because I do feel like there was a misunderstanding of like what is the difference between a hotel, a rep company, all these different things, like how was Playa part of Hilton, but also part of other companies and everything else. And so it's good that you kind of explain that there is a difference in structure and all of that kind of stuff too.
Well, and let's touch on that for a minute, right? Because I mean, this doesn't all have to be just a bombardment of product. I mean, a lot of this is just letting you guys know that we're here for support to, give you that basic familiarity on how to qualify for our resorts and our collection of properties, but also lead you to water in that there's great resources out there that we have available that we've launched in the last year or so. We're building more and more things that are that enable you to be able to partner with us better, to sell better, and then we're trying to get more out there, really connected not just with you as the advisor, but also with a lot of our key wholesalers. So that's going to be the focal point of today. But honestly, going back to what you were just talking about with the, kind of the structure of the way that companies are set up in the all-inclusive space, it's not apples to apples. I mean, you've got some of us in these larger, more well-known, globally recognized brands where really now, whether it's us, whether it's a Marriott, a Hyatt, or any of these other brands, are really not in the ownership space. They really work with a series of owners, really strict, guidelines on brand standards and all those things, but allowing for a little bit more of that creativity. It's not unusual that a lot of the portfolios are that way. You have some others out there. And again, it's a great competitive landscape, but there is something for everyone. Some have single ownership groups, and, those are things that you can have conversations with your other BDMs about, but just to kind of frame it so that we know all of our resorts at Hilton fit under strict, very, segmented brand guidelines, as well as, a lot of brand structures. And you'll start to see the consistency, even though each and every one of the resorts is a little bit different. And that's always a message that I stress as well. I think one of the things that we have, I mean, I have tried to proactively, I don't want to say combat, but like just really spread the word on, is the fact that, many of the clients out there that we're working with, our mutual clients, right, which are going to be the guests of the resorts, do not always think of some of these brands, especially ours, as, resort hotels as much as they do maybe a city hotel, a downtown hotel, a conference property. So that's where you bridge the gap in really extending our network and educating and qualifying your clients, which is what you guys are best at, and making sure that they understand. And you'll see it in the visuals as we go through, that these really are unique properties. They're targeted resorts. They fit the destinations really well. We use the term breathtaking spaces a lot to refer to that, but I mean, in the pillars and everything. But yeah, all good stuff. So, Steven, I think I'm going to go ahead and start sharing the screen if you don't mind, and it'll just, let's keep it informal. Stop me for questions. I think I operate best in that scenario, and we get, a little bit more transparency. Let me know when you can see it.
Perfect. It's pulling up. Yeah, we're good to go.
Perfect. There you go. You got the logo up there and everything. And we're looking actually at a lot of the sprawling beach area around the Zemi Beaches Resort, which is our newest property. Now, that gets me going, right? Because we'll go ahead and talk a bit about the portfolio. So first thing I always start out with is providing that snapshot. And this is our current portfolio as it exists today. Now, all of these resorts, there's additional information available. You can do some more research on these, and I'll lead you over to the content hub before we close today. But just bear in mind that most of what we're going to be partnering on together will primarily be Mexico, Caribbean, and to an extent our resort in Greece. The Turkish properties are great options, but they're a little bit tougher to get to from the North American, kind of standpoint. So not to say that you may not have a client here or there for those properties, but most of the cases, between just difficulty challenges of getting to them, not necessarily available through our preferred wholesale network that a lot of us know well, that may not be at the forefront of the resorts that you're selling at volume. But this just if you need to take a snapshot of this, feel free to take a screenshot. This really, there's no changes in terms of coming soons over the next year that is going to dramatically modify this, in my opinion. And absolutely,
Just to kind of touch on that for a second. So you guys do have the brand recognized Hilton behind you. You guys are Hilton. So as far as the all-inclusive properties, I know you guys have Hilton properties. You guys have like DoubleTrees. You guys have Conrads. You guys have all of these different things under the Hilton umbrella as standard EP type of hotels. But now when you're talking inclusive, is there something that differentiates like, oh, this hotel may have a meal plan versus this is a true all-inclusive property?
Right. So anything you see on the screen here are true all-inclusive properties. That's not to say that when we have 9,000 hotels globally, some of them aren't going to have meal plans. And I love the fact that you brought that up because, and this wasn't like predetermined, right? It's a great timing on this. The Conrad in the Conrad in Tulum, our Conrad Tulum Riviera Maya just put out to the what we call like the FIT guest, right? So this used to be something they could offer some closed groups like meetings and incentives, corporate signing a contract called the Flavors of Tulum package. So essentially it makes it as available as like a full all-inclusive. You don't see it on the screen right now because it's not just an all-inclusive property. It is a luxury EP resort, but because it's in a strong all-inclusive market in that Tulum, Cancun, Riviera Maya region, and because there was, no pun intended, an appetite for the food and the beverage and everything, that is something that we're now starting to see them roll out. So we on the all-inclusive team will help support that. And then if it takes shape that they want to make a full conversion into the all-inclusive space, then maybe that's where the future goes. But that's a good example of what you're talking about. You will find those scattered throughout the Hilton Global portfolio. My concentration, what I represent, are ones that we can all traditionally say are full-blown all-inclusive. So your room service, your 24 hours, your drinks, unlimited food, beverage, entertainment, all that stuff is part of the resort experience. That's my specialty, and that's the collection that you see on the screen. So great question.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Great question. Yeah.
And just for anybody who's watching this or on the live or anything, if you guys are new in the all-inclusive space, really the biggest difference is you have all-inclusive, and you'll hear what we're talking about, which is EP or European plan. That's basically a la carte. You're getting a hotel room. You have to get your own food, meals, all of that kind of stuff paid separately. That is non-inclusive. You'll hear it referred to as EP plan.
There you go. No, thanks for a call out. And you'll also see some things like modified American plan, breakfast inclusive rates, things outside of our all-inclusive portfolio. So I don't want to confuse the audience in talking about things that don't fit in this box, but it's good to give you a reference, especially for those that are looking for, where do we fit into this whole puzzle? So everything that we'll talk about from here on out essentially is going to be dedicated, full-blown, all-inclusive, like your other, main competitors in the space. And it leads me into this. I always start with the question of why us, and good chance to kind of level set and talk about the overall qualification process and where we feel like we target the market, right? Which is, I sum up in one statement: sophisticated, family friendly. I mean, our resorts in the portfolio that you saw on the map are really focused on family friendly experiences, but with much more what I would call like a leaning into our expertise in the culinary space. And again, it gives another tie-in Stephen, to what we just talked about, right? Which is essentially, our expertise in global luxury and EP resorts. So even though we're newer to the all-inclusive space as Hilton and Hilton brands, we're not new to the hospitality industry. We have over 9,000 hotels globally and growing by the minute, right? So when we can take a lot of our knowledge of really more immersive dining locations, things that at other hotels that are not all inclusive are actually tasked with generating revenue and drawing guests into the hotel, even if they're not staying overnight. It's a lot of knowledge that we can then lend to these all-inclusive models where it is included. All of the resorts that I'm talking about today, the food and beverage is included in essentially unlimited, the 24-hour room service, the accelerated liquor brands and things like that. But you're getting it in these spaces that are more immersive and feel as though they can stand on their own. And most times in the history of the all-inclusive segment, those more immersive dining venues with more robust and creative menus are generally, kind of more in the adults only space. You don't see a lot of that in the family friendly space. And so we've really melded what we are experts on from a global hospitality standpoint into the all-inclusive model. And that's one of the main.
Yeah, well, that you kind of brought that up as far as age, because I know Hilton All Inclusive, like you said, is newer to the kind of all inclusive portfolio. How old are you guys as far as moving into this space?
Well, so if you start with and again, this is where it gets into the way that the management franchise, all these other things, which really to the customer, no different, right? If it's branded as a hotel, it is or it isn't. We've really dipped our toe into the water with a few of those resorts back in, I want to say, right before like the COVID time period, so around 2019, 2020. But we made the full scale commitment in about mid 2021, and that's when you started to see us bring more of these resorts into the portfolio. Started with the Hilton Vallarta Riviera, Hilton Cancun, then eventually Hilton Tulum. We've got one in Curacao, and then the ones that you saw on the slide. So it's about 4.5 years that we've been like really fully committed to the space, getting much more heavily involved, and then really leaning into defining a little bit more what that portfolio looks like. Yeah. Great question, and then I'm not going to go through these, bullet point by bullet point, essentially, because I already kind of hit on them. But again, when I talk about sophisticated, family friendly, it's also important to note that so many of the resorts in our space, because it is a very competitive space, especially in Mexico, where you have a lot of inventory of resorts of all different shapes and sizes, there's like these target markets, right? Where it might be really based on like, okay, we're going after that family market, but we want to win the kids over with tons of kids focused entertainment options, big, sprawling water parks and things like that. But is there really like that culinary dive? Or maybe it's more concentrated on entertainment late night. Yeah, it's fine for families, but it's more about like the late night stuff. We really tend to take a much more well-balanced approach where, like I had mentioned before, and I use my kids as an example, we go out to one of these dining venues and they're getting sushi rolls and they're trying bone broth soup and all this other stuff. They're a little bougie, my kids. So that's why I need an all-inclusive. Otherwise, they'd bankrupt me on these dinner checks.
But for odds in our industry, I'll tell you.
I know, man. We really, I don't know what we're doing. I mean, I think we're doing great things, but we'll see when they become, very bougie adults. But
Exactly.
yeah. So, anyways, that's one of the focal points, but also like dedicated kids clubs, teens lounges, lots of spaces that are oriented towards letting different age groups find their way at the properties. I mean, entertainment is still a major investment for us. And that even is like, things for the adults in the morning. Like it might be like wellness classes and sunrise yoga and things like that. Culturally influenced entertainment. We're really big on that, especially in like Cancun, Riviera Maya, Zemi Beaches with more of the DR cultural aspects of the property. So, that's something where it plays a role in entertainment. And then of course, it's always about a segue to the next thing I want to talk about. But, just like I said, we're not newcomers to the hospitality space, and we're a globally recognized brand. We're hospitality leaders in groups. So when we're talking about events, it's anything. It could be a multi-generational family trip. It could be, a destination wedding. It could be really any variety of celebratory event. It could even be one of those smaller mid-size incentive groups. Whatever you guys have out there, we are global leaders in group travel. And that goes for, like I said, those smaller groups all the way up to a multi-resort buyout. I have confidence in our property's ability to really execute on groups, and that's why I think it's an important thing for us to talk about. And one of the areas where we really would love to have your help, especially this year and beyond, because we find that bookings are coming through a lot more last minute. On average, that clients are maybe a little bit less committal on signing contracts and want to be more flexible and things like that. So it's important that we still look at that as a really great stream of business. And for many of you advisors out there, it's a great way to grow your business. So Before I move on, Stephen, anything else you want to interject with, questions at all?
Yeah, no, I think kind of what you're talking about, groups, is huge. I know one of the questions that always comes up too, especially because you guys are under a globally known brand and stuff, is how does that work for clients that are loyal to Hilton? They want their points, they want to use their points, they want to do these. How does that work usually for the all-inclusive brand?
Yeah, no, great question. And that I'm glad that you bring that up because I don't generally have like a slide or a talking point to prompt that, but usually it comes up in Q&As anyway, right? So if first off, I'll present it this way. And again, I know this is being recorded and put out there, so I have to be careful with my words here. But I mean, the the honors program is a great loyalty driver for the brand, for Hilton. And this is no different than, you know, Hyatt with their whatever they call theirs, the Passport, and Marriott's Bonvoy and all those things. We're well aware that the consumer is, you know, at times very loyal to those programs, right? That being said, we really have focused on making sure that not only we have rate parity, but some real like advantages in terms of being able to sell through preferred wholesalers and doing things in business that really fits the market. You can book your clients through our Hilton Travel Agent portal and they can get those honors points. But if you really can position your value right beyond that, because I mean, I'll say go on, take a look. If you've got some Hilton Honors points, you want to check that out, or sign up for a free account and take a look at how many points it costs to book a night stay at a hotel. And you can kind of start to figure out, okay, this is what it is in dollars, this is what it is in points, to really get a dollar value on that. I'm not going to do the work for you on that one. I'll lead you guys over to check that out yourselves. That being said, the value that you provide and also the tools that are available to you through a lot of your key wholesale partners and things like that, where we still work just as closely with you and with them on making that happen, is really a great way to make sure you're ready to position yourself with your clients to sell yourselves essentially, and that value that you're providing, because it's an incredible value, you know. And in the end, they should be getting the same or better pricing anyway, regardless of where you decide to send us the business. Just know that you've got a what I call the parachute, that if you want to get over there to the booking site, which I'll show to you before we wrap up here today, you can make sure that they get those honors points. And also, if you book through wholesale and they're not getting the honors points through that channel, obviously, you can always let us know, and they're going to get the recognition for the level they're at. So if they're gold members or if they're diamond members or whatnot, let us know. The great thing about all inclusive is everything's pretty much already in there. So it's not like they'd be missing out on anything, club access or this or that, or confirmed upgrades. Like, you have to sell them, qualify them, and put them in the room category that they need to be in. And then you let us know and we can give them the recognition for being a member when they check in. So great question. Yeah. All right, cool. So this is where I wanted to just spend a minute or two because it's important. I would love to, bless you, have my, my colleague on here as well. But many of you out there may know the name Gina Johnson. She is my amazing compatriot and friend on the team who also oversees our destination weddings and celebrations. And that's the largest segment within what you see on the screen here now, the wedding celebration social groups, that's available to us to partner on, because it's still a growing segment. But, I know a lot of you out there may, already be selling wedding celebrations and different types of social groups. Just know that the best way to do that would be, obviously, always, first and foremost, initiate that transaction with our hotel team members. If you need contact lists and things, whether it's on the content hub or you need to reach out directly to me or one of our team members, feel free. But you're basically initiating that first point of contact with the property. Our wedding teams are dedicated on-site wedding teams, and these are the 4 packages that are available across the board at all of our all-inclusive resorts. So signature package being our lead-in, all the way up to Cherish Captured, which gives you, everything from like photography package and a photographer and everything, and extra event hours, right? So these are available. Prices are a little bit different depending upon the market. Like Tulum might be a little more expensive than near Cancun and Zemi and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, you've got consistent packages to sell, and then you guys can just manage the travel aspects of the group. Now, and when it comes to the travel aspects of the group and the rooms and things like that, we obviously have what I call this our evergreen groups promotion. And a couple things to flag here, right? First off, no matter what preferred wholesale that you go with, you're going to be able to book through their groups department and get these benefits. That's one. Two, if you're familiar, we're already throwing around these acronyms like EP, European Plan. Well, another one is FIT, Flex Group. So if anyone out there is not aware of what that is, basically you're booking through your same channel of choice. Okay, whether it be preferred wholesaler or whatnot, most of them have a program for a flex group that they've then branded. Okay, that means you're booking without a contract. You're not holding the space in advance, but you have the ability to tap into these group benefits, because what they're going to do is collect all those bookings that you made. Again, it doesn't guarantee the space or the price, but you can book into that, and then all of them come together and they're presented to the hotel, and then any applicable benefits based on the time of travel and what's available there would then be presented on the back end, similar to a group contract without the deposit. But we make those group contracts easy. I mean, honestly, if you're going, anywhere from 39 rooms down, $100 deposit and very forgiving cancellation and attrition. We do have a little bit more stipulations where you have to give back any unused space a little earlier when you go above the 39 rooms, but it's still only $100 per room to lock in the rate. So you imagine if you had 20 rooms, it's a $2,000 deposit, but you're holding 20 rooms and probably the lowest available rate that's only going to go up from there. So it's really a matter of what's best for the business, but all of our all-inclusives for the most part, except those ones I mentioned that we wouldn't be talking about as much, are on here. So, any other things that come to mind, Stephen, regarding groups, things that you've heard from the audience?
No, I mean, usually when it comes to groups, it really just, like you were saying, kind of depends on where you source through, where you work with, all that kind of stuff. But what I do like about how you guys have the packages is you make it easier for us to sell the all-inclusive destination wedding, which a lot of people are looking for nowadays because it takes the stress off of them. They all get vacations out of it. It really is a great kind of turning point. And even outside of just the destination wedding, I mean, there's family reunions, there's so many different types of groups. So I think it really just depends on the client and the advisor's business too.
100%. No, that's great. And I think, another thing that I want to make sure everyone feels supported on this, you've got multiple layers of support. You've got, fellow advisors out there. You have us from the hotel side. You're going to have support from a lot of your preferred wholesalers to really help you be comfortable. So if you are a veteran of groups, feel free to mentor some of those out there that might need a little bit of guidance. And we're here to support as well. But if you ever feel like, okay, I'm getting into this group space and I still haven't, I'm not familiar navigating a group contract or whatnot, if you have questions before you or your client is signing us, reach out to us. We're your partners, right? We can kind of help walk you through it and just kind of guide you a little bit in what way is best. But it's a really great way to build business. And one of the coolest things about destination weddings and some of these social group celebrations is that usually when you secure one of those, a lot of the clients you're going to end up having the chance to earn are not generally going to be your clients, right? You figure a couple comes to you, you've won their business over, and then they're bringing 30, 40, 50 rooms worth of family members to you that would never have met you before, and you have a chance to earn that many more new clients. Now, yeah, they didn't choose to work with you, so there are some frustrations that come along with that. But at the end of the day, you guys are experts in the space. You're doing what you're doing, and it's a great way to grow your business. I've seen so many successful agencies and advisors out there build their business this way. So just don't discount it for sure. It is a really great source.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, that was kind of how I started, definitely started on the cruise market, moving into all-inclusive. Once you really understand the all-inclusive market, booking one all-inclusive for one person or a group of 10, it's the same process, just magnetized. I mean, there is a lot of pressure and stress that can come with groups and everything, but it is, like Ashley's saying, a great way to build your database, build your business, kind of build that client base from one person into 10 really quickly.
Yeah. All right, cool. No, always love a ringing endorsement and a success story, Stephen. Appreciate that, man.
Absolutely.
Now I realize this will live for a while here, but I'm including this one promotion only because it has still a pretty long runway on it, and it's incredible that actually, okay, we got it updated there. The kids and teens free. So as you can see here on the screen at the time that we're doing this recording, travel window extends through Halloween of this year, and the booking window is going to go for the next month and a half from time of recording here. You've got until the end of March to take advantage of this, and basically for every one full paying adult, you're going to get a kid or a teen free. Now, we do age-based pricing here at Hilton All Inclusive. So a teenager is going to be a slightly different rate than a child, and neither one of them are going to pay the same rate as an adult. But you can see a lot of value in here, and we're starting to, I know I talked about last-minute travel. While we are still seeing a lot of last-minute bookings come in for, whether it be spring break, slightly post-spring break, early summer, a lot of that summer travel, guys, and even the fall shoulder season travel is hitting the books right now. And the average lead time is going to be more like a 6 to 9 months. So it's a great time to take advantage of this promotion. And a 3-night minimum stay, that's going to be anybody flying to these destinations. I mean, no one's going down for 2 nights. So really, it's a great promotion available with all our major wholesalers. And those group stuff that I just showed you, this is fully combinable with the group benefits. So you can use this for groups, whether it be weddings or, like I said, the multi-gen trips as well. All right. So I know we've got to, I want to really try and keep this tight. So I don't want to spend even, super deep dive on each of the properties, but I do want to touch on each one for a minute or two and field any other things that kind of come to mind as we go through, Steven. So let's talk a bit about the resorts in the portfolio, just so that it makes it a little easier for you guys to qualify. Even if you're not sitting through and listening to all this now, you can refer back to different parts of this later on down the line and just be like, oh, okay, Ashley, give us a couple tips on that. So we're starting with actually, when you asked the question about when did we really go all in on this all-inclusive stuff, this is really one of the first resorts that hit the portfolio, the Hilton Cancun. And we've been talking a lot about groups. This is fantastic for groups. But one of the other things that we've done, because it's not just about the Hilton brand or just about our all-inclusives, that you'll notice here and also in the next resort I'm going to talk about, is that these are resort complexes that don't just have the Hilton all-inclusive, which we see right here, but right next door is what we call an EP, so a non-all-inclusive resort in the luxury brand. It's a Waldorf Astoria, and they're connected through a conference center here. So what we've done with that, not only providing additional off-site, you could kind of call it added value for restaurants if guests want to go all down and make a reservation there with a concierge above and beyond all the options of the all-inclusive. We've got the Waldorf Astoria Spa, which is actually our spa for both properties, and then, like I said, we've done really versatile things with some of our groups and conventions and whatnot here as well, where some really high-end VIP guests might be staying over at Waldorf and you have other parts of the group in Hilton. So we're flexible in that regard. This particular resort, 15 minutes from the Cancun International Airport, is really like two resorts in one in a very concentrated space. So you've got a dedicated family zone over here with splash pad, kids club, ice cream shop, teens and kids lounge, all that stuff right centered on this side of the property. But on the other side, it's much more of an adults-oriented space. So you really it's still a family-friendly property from one end to the other, but you definitely get two different personalities, and it can be two completely different vacation styles depending upon what side of the resort you stay on. And like I said, great for groups in that it's close proximity to the airport, can totally be more viable for some of those shorter stays. And even though you're in the south part of the Cancun area or northern Riviera Maya, our owners even made a huge investment to put in a seaweed barrier out here. So there's netting that actually catches almost all the sargassum when it is happening. So it barely makes it to shore. It's a really great option, and it still feels very secluded from the main highway. So, you might only be 15 minutes from the airport, but you're not like right on the main road. You drive about 7 minutes down our driveway to get here. And so the views over the mangroves are wonderful. It's a great versatile resort for shorter or longer stays and groups that like to be a little bit more close together. And then really on the other end of the spectrum, down about an hour and a half down the coast, we have our Hilton Tulum Riviera Maya. Now, I'm going to call this out in a moment because this is something important here. You see Enclave on the screen. This resort, and now you start to see what I'm talking about, right? I'm going to refer back to what I mentioned earlier. When you're thinking about your general client base and what might first come to mind with the Hilton brand, I want to make sure that we help them get to a point where it is not more of like the downtown, the city hotel. And for those of you out there that are advisors that might still be saying, hey, you know what? I kind of had that association before. Forget it, because as you can see here, each of these resorts are distinct. They really fit the destination or kind of the sub-destination really well. Words that I've heard other colleagues, I know I use these as well, thrown around with the Hilton Tulum Riviera Maya, is very much like that boho chic vibe that you would see from the small boutique hotels in Tulum. They're about 25 minutes south of us. We're located an hour and a half south of the Cancun International Airport here. But again, really versatile family resort, but for families or groups that might want to be a little bit more spread out, this one is a fantastic option because you could have some folks over here in more of our family section. You could have others over here in the Enclave, and some in like oceanfront, ocean view rooms in the middle here. And really, they can meet up with each other very easily, but everybody feels like a way to kind of disperse. When you're looking at this one, pricing it out, checking it out, you'll find that there are different room categories with those different names in there. So if you did want to target, you had families that wanted to be closer to the splash pad, the kids club, the family restaurant, the ice cream and churro shop, and some of those things that are over here, you can put them in a family room and you can guarantee that they're going to be in one of these casas or houses nearby. Another great thing about this is, just like what I talked about in Cancun, we share a 2-resort complex here in Tulum. So right behind where this picture was taken, there's a smaller cove, and I had talked about it already, but that's where the aforementioned Conrad is located. So we've got that Conrad EP luxury resort on property and part of like or not on property, but next door as part of a smaller cove area. And then again, as I mentioned, they offer certain all-inclusive packages. We could do versatile things there in terms of groups. We've got the shared convention space back here. And then, of course, another hallmark of this experience is the Conrad Spa, which is what both guests, of Hilton and Conrad have available to them as well. All right. Oh, and I didn't mention as well, this is 50 minutes from the Tulum airport. So not exactly around the corner, but it's still, relatively close. So for those of you that have, folks flying from gateways where they're used to taking connecting flights or they have a nonstop into the Tulum airport, it's a great option to cut down about 40 minutes of their transfer time and be a much less hectic airport experience, I guess. And Steven, I don't know. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but have you ever been to I have not yet been to Tulum Airport because I have a lot of nonstops to Cancun. Have you? Yeah.
And I'm all Cancun, honestly, so I haven't been down to the Tulum airport since they opened, unfortunately.
No, all good. I mean, I've gotten great feedback on it. And again, guys, if you're looking for something that's like a little bit more laid back, low key, it's just gives another option, and we're kind of convenient located to both airports. Cool. All right, so now this one here, this was actually our first kind of entrant right about a month after, or actually a few weeks after I joined the company. It's the Hilton Vallarta Riviera All-Inclusive. And for those that maybe have not had Vallarta as a destination on your radar recently, I realize that there's so many flights going into Cancun and Punta Cana and all this other stuff, but this is such a enriching destination. I love it so much because it gives so much more of an authentic feel of Mexico. And because it's on the West Coast, it's on the Pacific, you get sunsets along the ocean, you get the mountains right at the back. And then our resort is set in a location that's only about 10 to 15 minutes south of a lot of the really great assets in town in Puerto Vallarta. All the rooms are facing the ocean front. The water is super clear. Think of it more like the water you'd experience in certain portions of Hawaii. I kind of call it like the Hawaii of Mexico, but it's just a really great family-friendly resort. And I actually was fortunate enough just back in November to spend a week here with the family, and it was really our favorite our best vacation we've had at any of the all-inclusives in the last probably 5 or more years. Kids were doing snorkeling off the beach. I mean, we've got a dedicated adults only and a family-friendly pool here, kids club. Most, if not actually all of the restaurants face out towards the ocean. And most of them are hubbed in this central section of the property. So you get floor to ceiling glass. You'll see whales jumping out of the water, manta rays. I mean, it's a fantastic experience. And one other cool selling tidbit about Puerto Vallarta in general, excuse me, is that the taxis are very affordable. Uber is actually usable in this destination. We took advantage of it and did an excursion. And I was able to get an Uber XL from the marina 25 minutes north of us to our hotel for about $25. I was just telling, an advisor about it the other day because they wanted to come down here to do a site inspection. And I said, yeah, honestly, if you're up in town and you want to pop down there, I pulled up my Uber history and, is pretty easy to see. So it's just a great accessible destination. And for those that are unfamiliar with it, do some research, try to make an effort to go visit it. Our resort is an awesome option. It's great. Like I said, sophisticated, family-friendly spot and really opens new doors for you,
Yeah, I'd say over here on the East Coast, it's a little more difficult to get our clients over to Vallarta, over to Cabo and all that stuff. But honestly, guys, it does happen. I mean, we have clients that we just put together a birthday for over in Cabo. So like people will travel, they will go to places, they will see these hotels. So even if it seems further out of your geographic region, I mean, put it on your map, honestly.
Yeah. And, another thing that I've learned in talking to advisors all over North America for the last 4+ years, I used to have a more myopic view on the spoiled folks that have tons of nonstops to certain destinations, but a vast majority of you probably have clients out there that are used to taking at least one connection to get somewhere. So open their horizons and don't always settle on, some of the more well-known destinations just because they've got so many more, maybe hotel options or maybe a few more flight options. It's well worth the trip. I mean, for me, it wasn't easy. I'm in between Philly, New York. I can occasionally get a nonstop out of Newark, but a lot of it's connecting. We connected through Dallas and, nice. It broke up the trip. We got out there, gained 2 hours back because it's mountain time out there. It was great. I mean, it was really a great experience. So thanks for that call out there too, Steve. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Now, I teased this a little bit on some of the previous screens, but I want to make sure that you guys know what this is, right? So Enclave for us is also really important, and this is something that I personally can say I've experienced the last few times we vacationed at our resorts, and it is such a phenomenal upgrade on what is already a really high, high delivery point experience, right? When we're talking about our resorts being more on the upper end of things, this just enhances the experience. It gives additional access and things to a few other assets on property, but it's all about a little bit more exclusivity and added value. And the biggest thing I will say, think of it as like our club level, but whether it's your own lounge access, whether it's access to like a kind of a shared concierge type service that can do everything from setting up poolside chairs to making preferred dining reservations. You've got in the event of a Tulum or a Marcaribe and some of our other hotels, your own pool complex. There's a lot of value here, but the main thing that I tell folks is always included in the quotes. Always. Don't ever leave this off the table, even if you think it's slightly above your client's budget, because you're not going to want them to get to the property and be like, oh, I felt it was a great experience, but I was wondering why I couldn't get into this pool. Or I saw this really cool lounge and they were making carajillos in there. It was great and I couldn't go in. You want to make sure that all of that stuff is available to your clients. So definitely include this in the pricing. A lot of times, very reasonable upgrade that comes with a ton more exclusivity and value. And I can personally endorse that it dramatically enhances the guest experience. You can see one of our lounges here highlighted at the Hilton Cancun Marcaribe, which actually leads me into this because I use this photo as an example to show some of the exclusivity here. Enclave guests, for instance, at this property are going to have rooms in these more beachfront locations. It's all pretty concentrated property. This one's 15 minutes from the Cancun International Airport. So again, if you're thinking Hilton Cancun to the south, this one's to the north, right in the heart of the hotel zone. Our Enclave guests are also going to receive access to this terrace up here with some plunge pools and a little extra restaurant. They're going to have their own lounge, which we saw. But then the rest of the guests still get the adults-only pool platform out here, the major pool complex, all the other restaurants, and then, of course, the Splash Pad Kids Club Teens Lounge. So, again, is it going to be something that guests are feel lesser than if they don't have the Enclave experience? Absolutely not, because we are more of a premium product. However, it is a difference maker, and I can attest again, having a family that trying to grab some of those things when you need them, it just makes life easier. It's well worth it. Take advantage of it. And one of the other cool things is this is not a room category level in Enclave where guests are going to be able to get upgraded. Like say they are booked and they're Diamond members with Hilton Honors. You have to sell them and make that commission on that sale and put them in Enclave. They're never, ever going to get a complimentary upgrade to any stuff like this. All right. So I know I kind of breezed through the Cancun Marcaribe, but I want to make sure I have a few minutes to show you some of the other assets as well. So we'll go through these last couple properties. And really, one of the things that I want to focus on here in Curacao, this is the first of the resorts that I'm talking about that's not actually called a Hilton all-inclusive in terms of like Hilton Vallarta Riviera, Hilton Cancun. This is one of our other brands in the Hilton portfolio, the Curio Collection. And that's important because it allows for a little bit more, creative license in terms of the way that the resort's branded and the way that it looks. We actually have two resorts in Curacao here, which would be the Mangrove Beach, and then the one that I would really strongly recommend you target for guests. Any advisors out there based in North America, you want to send your guests or your clients rather to the Reef. The reason for that is it's a newer building. It's only been open for a little over a year. It gets full exchange privileges with the Mangrove Beach, but this one does include your 24-hour room service, your top shelf liquors, all those other things. Meanwhile, the Mangrove Beach is going to have room service, but it might have hours in the evening where it's not available. It's a little bit more casual Dutch Caribbean style experience. This caters a little bit more to the North American clientele. So it's going to be more in line with the things we talk about with all of our other all-inclusives. It is Curio Collection brand. It's in close proximity to the airport. And Curacao is one of those really interesting island destinations outside of the hurricane belt. So down there with Aruba and Bonaire. And while it's still heavily Dutch clientele in this area, it's really on the come up, and a lot of people that go down to the island just rave about it. It's even a great place. You could rent a car for a day and just go drive around and hit some of the beaches and things like that. So take advantage and know that you've also got a partner here with a resort in Curacao as well. I had mentioned, as we said before, we've got this property here in Greece. It's part of our all-inclusive collection. Some of the main wholesalers out there do carry the the Alice Lindos Resort. It is on the Isle of Rhodes, but one thing I will tell you about this one, family friendly, a little bit smaller, great for bookending larger European trips, so if guests are out there doing a bigger Greek Isles European tour, it's a great way to ease into it, ease out of it. But this is also seasonal properties. So a lot of the destinations out there are not going to necessarily be year-round destinations like what we're accustomed to in the Caribbean. So generally from May 1st until August 31st is the season for this property. And then after Halloween up until the end of April, it will be closed. So just to keep in mind, if you're looking for someone in like the mid to early spring or the late fall, winter, and you don't see it, doesn't mean it's not there. It just means that it's not open. All right. So last but not least, before I get into some of these great agent tools and kind of round this out and, and everything, is to talk about the newest property in our collection that just opened the end of June last year, 2025. And that, of course, is the Zemi Meaches property. Now, I really want to talk about this in reference to the uniqueness and the newness of the destination. It's not just about the property. Many of you out there are probably very familiar with Punta Cana, very familiar with sending folks to the Dominican Republic as an all-inclusive destination because it's been, quite a player in the space for the last many decades. But Miches in particular, this sub-destination, you fly into Punta Cana, PUJ, but it's actually located about an hour and a half from the airport. It is a beautiful drive. I did it no less than 4 times last year, and you get to see, really kind of the growth and the boom area of that Bavaro Macau beach region where Punta Cana and the airport are. And then as you start to drive out to this location, it's this really wonderful, nice, clean, smooth, wide road. And you start to see these like beautiful rolling fields come into play. And by the time you get to that little cove of Miches, you're surrounded by mountains. It is like a completely different destination. I was there with some top advisors that have been selling the sun and sand locales for many, many years, and they were using references like St. Lucia, like Costa Rica, like Hawaii. And those are the types of things that came to mind. These are not my words, it's theirs, saying that this is what it really reminds me of. And so you're getting the value of an all-inclusive destination. You're getting the abundance of airlift, the flight options into Punta Cana, but you're getting a destination that is so much more secluded and so much more authentic. That's where the resort and the vibe of Zemi Meaches being another one of our Curio Collection properties comes into play. It is really meant to embody, first off, leaning into a lot of the ecological highlights and the greenery and the lushness of the island, but also the Taino culture and the history of the people. That's something that with many of the resorts in the Dominican Republic has been lost a bit, I think, as these monstrosities that have wonderful vacation experiences have taken shape, that Zemi Meaches really is much more of a destination or a resort that leans into the destination itself. And you get a really incredibly luxurious kind of sense of arrival when you enter the property. We've done wonderful things. As I'd mentioned at the beginning, it gives me the bookends on the conversation of how important the culinary aspects of a Hilton all-inclusive stay here, but this is setting a new benchmark. And quite honestly, historically speaking, Dominican Republic's not known as a culinary destination, but we are really doing some amazing things here. In those immersive restaurants, we have a Dominican specialty restaurant that has all authentic Dominican dishes. We also have what's called Club Azur, which is like our enclave, but for this property in particular, giving guests a little bit more of that step up, that exclusivity. We also have some unique room categories here. So specifically bungalow suites. These are available, whether it be directly through our advisor portal or through, your preferred wholesalers. And then of course, there's a lot of careful attention paid to this area. But again, I cannot state enough, and photos don't do it as much justice. You can see the mountains off in the distance. So for anyone out there who is familiar with that greater Punta Cana Bavaro area, this is definitely a different destination and a completely different experience for your clients. So, that gives a nice overview, Stephen, I think, of our entire portfolio and all the ones, and high selling points. But again, there's a lot more information out there, and we'll talk about it in a minute. But before I jump into sharing some stuff and kind of navigating through these sites, any other things that you were thinking about that you might want me to touch on while I'm still here?
No, I mean, I really like how you did kind of the high level points, because it's exactly like you said. There's so many different all-inclusive resorts. There's so many different cruise lines. There's so many different things for travel advisors to know. And I really think what it comes down to is really what is the differentiating factor. I mean, we can all know there are 500 rooms, there's swim ups, there's this, that, the third, but really like, what is going to make us actually put a client at your hotel versus something else? And that's kind of where these differentiators really kind of shine.
Perfect. No, I appreciate that insight. I mean, I try to think of it. I mean, before I started on this side of the desk, I was also an advisor myself, right? And I think a lot of it, our whole job is to create expectations that are in line with what the client's vision is, right? Now, again, I think the hardest thing for us always to wrangle in is like their budget compared to what they want, the old champagne taste and the beer budget analogy, right? But at the end of the day, though, I mean, we're the experts that I said it feeds this wonderful cycle for all of your partners out there, whether it be hotels or tour companies or cruise lines. When you properly qualify a client because you've taken the extra steps to know what you're selling and really connect with partners that are here to support you and make that a two-way street, all of these things, your reviews are going to be better. The reviews on our hotels. I mean, this directly affects like TripAdvisor reviews and things like that, because if these folks are finding our resorts from just some website online, going to Expedia and just booking, they might just be going off of a couple pictures or whatever they've read or other reviews of people who were also not qualified properly. So that's why it's so important to lean into a lot of these resources and everything. And so give me just a minute. I think I have to stop this and then I'll reshare it, because I had like the Zoom sign-in page. Nobody wants to see that, Here we go. All right, so I'm going to go live back here for a minute just to showcase what I was talking about. And this is the other supplementary area where you can find a lot more information above and beyond what I'm talking about today. And it's something that we continually update. It is our Hilton Content Hub. So we launched this about a year ago, pretty much to the month. And what you'll see here is that it's not just all-inclusive, but we've got a lot of great information on our all-inclusive resources here as well. Very self-sufficient. And you're not required to sign in or log in or get a sign up for this, but it's designed for the advisor in mind. So when you first navigate to it, it's simply is HiltonContentHub.com. So it's very easy to remember, easy to set as a favorite. This is essentially what the homepage will look like, and we'll have featured resorts that come and go. But both of these properties I've talked about today. So you see the Waldorf Astoria Riviera Maya, the one that's connected to Hilton Cancun, and of course, Zemi Miches Punta Cana, right? So not only can you be led to the different websites for the properties, which great, anybody can do that. This is where it really gets interesting. We've got our all-inclusive section here, okay? And I mean, again, there are other brand portfolio resources. You can learn more about some other things, including like hotel openings and renovations. You can get over to our travel advisor portal, which I'll show you in a minute. But here you've got, for instance, a snap, like a kind of a flip book, as we call it, right? This is something that can be shared with clients. It's got a really great overview of what's available. We've got our newsletters. So not only do they live here every time we send out like a quarterly newsletter, but you can also download or sign up for our newsletters to get a little bit more proactive information sent your way. We've got assets here. So if you go here, resort specific assets, and take a look. If you want any of the photos that I just shared today above and beyond, and even all sorts of other different resources, we have this broken down by property, and you can go ahead and drill down. I mean, I know I was just raving about Hilton Vallarta Riviera, among others, but it gives you the stats up here, and then you can download by category. You can get logos here, all sorts of different things to promote the properties and resources to supplement what I've discussed today. And if we go back out here, you'll also see snapshots in terms of our all-inclusive amenities, whatever current offers are in the market. So I realize sometimes we watching this recording and maybe that Kids Stay Free booking window ended, right? You're watching this and it's April or May or whatnot. You can always refer back here, and our most updated offers will be available, including flyers that you can, you can take a look at, and things that you can share with clients as well. And even more information on what's included with the Enclave. We've got some things in different languages for those of you looking for some of the assets either in Spanish or a few in even the Brazilian Portuguese. So there's a lot of stuff, a lot of information here in the Content Hub. Then on top of that, the other resource is going to be our travel advisor portal. So here you just kind of go to it's travelagents.hilton.com. You scroll down. Of course, we've got an all-inclusive hotels landing page. But this is also where you'll find information about, whether it's, commission things on direct bookings, offers and promotions above and beyond what's available and all-inclusive. You can look at some other things around meetings and incentives. Of course, it chases back to our Content Hub, so we have those linked. But you can also find travel advisor rates here. And what I will say is that in Cancun, for the Cancun Riviera Maya, the Hilton Tulum, Hilton Vallarta Riviera, and Zemi Miches, we're really giving some competitive agent rates out there right now. So it's a great way for you to get down there and book your own stay. There's even some ways to find some of our luxury portfolio here as well. So really I think about as much as I can provide you in the time allotted to really get you off to a great start. But I'm just so appreciative of whomever is willing to join and take the time and really just having the platform, Steven, to be able to share some of this stuff with you guys. So
Yeah, 100%. And we appreciate it as well. I mean, I hate to say it, like the business development is exactly this. It's the people taking the time to build the relationships, to get people to know the products, to really just take the time to build partnerships. And so we appreciate you jumping on here and giving us this brief overview, but also being there as a resource and also having the resources too.
sure. Well, listen, pass the word along, guys, for anyone who's out here and navigates this and has the ability. Do not hesitate to reach out to us and our entire supportive team. We're here to really help you out, but also pass the word along to your fellow advisors and agents out there, agency owners. We're here to partner with you and to do business and to make sure that it's easy to find. And any challenges that you have, let us know. I mean, we can only improve when we get the feedback from you. And a lot of times, you guys are really what keeps us up to date and relevant in terms of what are the booking trends? What are your clients looking for? What are some of the pain points that you're having in areas where we can be better partners? These are the things that I like to hear as a partner here, and I hope that I can, continue to make a difference and we can support each other for a long time to come. So, Steven, thanks so much for having me on again. I appreciate it. I'm so glad that we at Hilton All Inclusive are able to be a part of the amazing platform you've got with the Travel Advisor Resource Center. So thank you so much. If there's anything else that you guys ever need, do not hesitate to reach out.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Ashley. And thank you guys all for jumping on. Anybody watching the recording, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to our team and we can connect you with Ashley or otherwise. But if you need anything else, you know how to find us. Have a good one,
guys. Take care. Thanks a lot.